Welcome, my children. Welcome to a stream of Saturday. Today is a splendid one. This will be a splendid time because I am going to do what I should have done weeks ago, months ago, if even. I promised that I will do a stream where I will read an article from the Wikipedia, the article that is dedicated to the one they call Christine Westin Chandler, the creator of the hybrid Sonichu, the electric hedgehog Pokemon. Anyway, I have, let's just say that it will be interesting. After my viewing of tonight's salt mine, I felt inspired because after the land whale, the hen beast went completely off her rocker, as you would say. She then said that she had the heart of Jesus Christ in her. Then again, we still have the other weirdos, such as the one temptress known as Tequila, who claims she is the bride of God, as well as Von Hilton, G-Man, and the Targeted Citizen, a Terry Davis wannabe named the Targeted Citizen. But I will do my reading on a certain article that was inspired by, well, the craziness I've seen on the salt mine this evening. Anyway, let us get us started on a trip, you would say, down the rabbit hole that is race and reality. You can only escape in your mind and recluse for so long before you're pulled back to reality. And too many things leave you feeling like you get little peace at home. Grace, 2016, in a rare moment of self-awareness on his habit of escapism. Doesn't that remind you of Shani, Mr. Billy, Mr. Teeted Atheist? All this talk about being the child of Christ and all this archangel is basically Shani's means of escapism. If you don't believe that, then you are out of it. Reality is a concept that Chris desperately tries to avoid acknowledging, instead retreating to the comfort of his imaginary world and hoping that reality will eventually bend to his whims. That sounds like Shani again. Billy? I know the geek room does not watch this, but given the circumstance, they acknowledge it. Many people with autism struggle to distinguish between reality and fantasy. But most make an effort to reduce the impact on their lives. Chris, on the other hand, embraces his realm of fantasy, especially as escapism from stress, life responsibility, and his bleak future. Yep, now you know, Billy, that I do compare Shani to Chris on so many levels because they do have the similarities in escaping to fantasy, trapping himself in a feedback loop whereby his real world life and issues are further neglected while his devotion to his fantasies gets stronger. Ooh, this is going to be fun. Notably, Chris believes that Quickville and his imaginary friends are real. Chris had been spotted conversing, interacting, and dancing with them on many occasions, and even believes that he is married to imaginary people. Today I bear my fangs, for I am the dragon. Also, Chris also holds many delusions of grandeur, from believing he has the power to curse people, like Von Helton, to thinking he has psychic powers, possibly like Von Helton, and even believing he is a goddess with the power to unite the entire dimensions, like Shani, and that his dimensional merge would make him rich and bring his fictional characters and those of others to life. Wait until you see what happens next. Let's wait until Halloween of 2020. It is said that there's supposed to be a magic ritual that is supposed to bring forth his dimensions. But yeah, I know. I know you come to these streams expecting Shani content, but I told you. I do quickie readings on my stream. So there's that. Anyone who wishes to join the live chat, the link is in the chat. Don't expect any Shani content for today because this is my quickie reading time. I told you I was going to do quickie readings on my channel. Oh wait, you didn't. Oh, I forgot to tell you that. Yeah. To break character, my channel is dedicated to not just Shani, but other lolcows. My channel will be dedicated to not just Shani, but other lolcows that predate her and her locales that come before Shani are also a thing of mine that I am trying to implement. So there's that. Anyway, let's continue on. Chris's perception of reality has been on a downward spiral for most of his life. That sounds familiar. Due to a lifetime of being called out by his parents, like Rev, following the death of his father in 2011 and amid the increasing infirmity of his mother, Chris was forced into shouldering more responsibilities, which he was mentally ill-equipped to bear, and consequently, he invested more heavily in magical beliefs as solutions to the problems presented by reality. I would believe that Shani for Christ should start believing in what Christian believes, that the realm of cartoons, that Imagination Land would merge with his reality, with our reality. I would love to become Dracula for reals and have the ability to control time and drop steamrollers on Batman. Just kidding. In 2017, the idea guys
trolls who utilize role-playing as Chris's imaginary friends further exasperated Chris's grasp. It's these teeth. I'm wearing vampire teeth. Okay, maybe I should take these out. I sound like I have. Okay, there you go. The idea in 2017, guys, trolls who utilize role playing as Chris's imaginary friends further exasperated Chris's grasp of reality, giving validation to his fantasies and encouraging him to stay rooted in his fantasy world. A trend continued at present day by waves of enablers. By the way, does Shani have any enablers who keep her into her delusions? I know there's G-Man, and I think, well, then again, Shani's just ripping off people. This video is something planned that I've always wanted to try. I was going to do the one about Chris and Law, but after tonight's shitfest with Shani calling President Trump Lucifer and saying that she has the heart of Jesus, I kind of changed it up a bit. So, again, the Geek Room Salt Mine inspired me to do this stream, and I am gonna do it the way it should have been done. Maybe I should have gotten the hat, but I just changed back into my other form. Chris maintains his belief even in the face of mental health professionals. For 9 months between summer 2018 and spring of 2019, he was required to see a psychiatrist and therapy group at Region 10 and told them of his beliefs of his imaginary friends and multiple dimensions, to which their reaction was to simply hand wave him through their program. Maybe that's what happened with Shani and the court mandated therapy. They just hand waved her through their program. Again, if anyone wants to come in, I mean, I don't know if you want to, but if you can't afford to go see a dominatrix and you feel like punishing yourself, why not come to this stream? Why not come to my channel? Maybe handcuff yourself to a radiator and watch as Shani beats you with a fetish whip for the Baja Blast, Rev. If you're listening to this, you ought to know. I support you. I'll support you if you get the hell out of that cesspit you call Shani's bedroom. Yeah. Don't we all? Anyway, let's continue on with this mess. Causes of Chris's poor grip on reality. Although autism is one major factor, his parents contributed a lot towards Chris's warped perception of anyone or anything that antagonizes him. Kind of like Rev, don't you think? Then again, Rev's parents, back when his dad was still alive, they kind of enabled, Rev's mom especially enabled him to be, well, sheltered. That same thing goes with Chris. Again, are times where I actually do compare. You know, I could read these quickie articles and then stop to take a brief note to say compare Shanny and Reb to Chris or even Vaughn, because now you know why I keep bringing Chris Chan up. Couldn't you, eyes with the fake teeth? Bob and Barbara regularly fed Chris conciliatory platitudes about how he was mistreated out of jealousy and that special rules exist for the benefit of autistic people. The platitudes cemented Chris's all-pervasive sense of entitlement, as well as his indiscriminate belief that anything bad that happened to him was a conspiracy, whether or not it was caused by his stupidity or stubbornness. Well, this part is right here is something that basically sums up Rev, is that yeah, I do look like I'm about to yeah, sorry. It's supposed to be my disguise, Michael or Michelle. It's a disguise, but then again, I'm like, you know what? Might as well go with the image. It basically sums me up. So, because I like to keep things mysterious. Great, now I'm having flashbacks. Anyway, psychological problems. The only known formal diagnosis of Chris are autism, dating from when he was 5 or 6 years old, and gender dysphoria, officially diagnosed in 2016. However, his behavior in adulthood suggests he has undiagnosed issues. Chris exhibits signs of maladaptive daydreaming, a psychiatric disorder comprised of vivid daydreams and excessive fantasies that can interfere with socializing or even replace it altogether. That kind of sounds like, yeah, that kind of sounds like me. Well, the maladaptive daydreaming part, yeah. But who hasn't had daydreams? Big love. Shout out to Sugonia. Shout out to Sugonia, folks. Then again, Shanny. Then again, I think Von Helton might exhibit signs of maladaptive daydreaming. But then again, Shanny also might have those issues too. I mean, you've seen Shanny. You saw Shanny on the salt mine. You saw what she was talking about. The whole calling Donald Trump Lucifer and all that shit, saying that she has the heart of Jesus. This is why I compare Shanny to Christian, is because they have similar delusions. Well, except for the Sonichu shit, but this behavior is observed in Chris with his imaginary friends and Quickville and the dimensional nerd. This behavior is observed in Chris with his imaginary friends and Quickville, the dimensional merge, and especially the polyamorous marriage. Shanny wishes she could be in a polyamorous marriage. You know what I mean? If she thinks that she has the heart of Christ in her, then I could be drinking the blood of Christ. It's actually Hawaiian Punch. Revolution, folks. Revolution in Sugonia. Long live Sugonia, folks. Maladaptive daydreaming is also associated with pacing and musical stimulation. I guess. Eyewitness accounts of Chris, such as The Tale of the Crazy Pacer, mentioned these behaviors in him. Chris also stated that music from his phone is his method for meditation. I'm pretty sure we all had that. I'm pretty sure that's most of us, but Chris is a very special case. I mean, who hasn't gone around pretending to be some superhero? I mean, kids do it, but then again, Chris is basically a kid trapped in a grown man's body. Peter Pan syndrome is a pop psychology term to describe those who are immature and refuse to grow up and accept adult responsibilities. Kind of like Shani and Rev. Kind of like G-Man and Vaughn and all the other crazy people on that the Geek Room covers. I mean, come on, Frank. At least throw in a little Christian every once in a while. You gotta give mad props to the original lolcow. I mean, the classic shit is something you would have covered, but then again, Christian ain't interesting to people anymore. Well, ever since he started going batshit insane and talking about wanting to merge dimensions, his fictional world of Imagination Land and our reality. Anyway, but then again, let's talk about this part. Chris has demonstrated this and his refusal to seek work. Instead of begging for money or ignoring his debt payments to afford more toys. An eyewitness to one of Chris's debt hearings noted that Chris was trying hard to revert to childhood, based on how he made childish noises during his time in the courtroom and talked back to his mother in a childlike voice. That's probably when that was probably the one where he had the fidget spinner. Sorry, I had something in my mouth. The dimensional merge represents Chris's ultimate desire to hide from adult responsibilities, as he believes it will grant his wild power fantasies and enable him to continue living like a child. Chris's devotion to rejecting adult life has warped his perception of reality, as he spends all of his free time playing make-believe as if it were a religion. Maybe Shani should start doing that instead of going on YouTube and making outlandish videos saying that she is the reincarnation of Elijah or that she is the Archangel Sandalphon. Maybe, well, then again, Shani's YouTube channel. Shani's YouTube channel is basically her means of escapism. And yes, I would say that it also has warped her perception of reality. Then again, she's also ripping off people like Tila Tequila and, well, Tila Tequila is the only person I could think of that Shani's ripping off. Oh yeah, Nikado. I think Nikado Avocado. I can't pronounce that dude's name. The mukbanger that Shani and Rev name drop in their videos, as well as Amberlyn Reed and Foodie Booty. Let's not forget about those two. Goes to show you that Shani has no original bone in her body. Then again, Shani has no bones in her body. Maybe Shani should start copying Christian for a change. Telling everybody to believe in the dimensional merge. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Something that. Oh shit! I forgot. Oh shit! I forgot to put it on this one. My bad. Oh shit! I had it on. I had it on my screen. I forgot to show you the article. My bad. Well, anyway, it doesn't matter. It's not like anyone's gonna show. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm sure people will come in as long as I continue reading. Speaking of which, I'm gonna react to that video that Shani made where she's calling herself she has the heart of Jesus or something. And once I'm done with this article, you'll know why I compare Shani to Chris Chan. A common theory since the dimensional merge saga unfolded is that Chris may have schizophrenia, based on his rantings about his imaginary world seeming as if he cannot distinguish between reality and fantasy. However, a closer look at Chris's rambling shows that he's capable of discerning the differences, but avoids it in order to preserve his escapist fantasy. Unlike a schizophrenic, Chris will distinguish between reality, or as he calls it, 1218, and his fantasy domain, named C-197. Damn, Dimension 1218's reality? Limits and shit? Chris's reaction when reality's dimensions and his fantasy dimensions did not merge as predicted. A prime example of him being able to differentiate reality from his escapist fantasies. This is something I have been talking about. I've been wanting to talk about is that another reason why I've been comparing Shandy to Chris Chan is that they have this tendency to want to escape from reality by pretending that they're fictional entities, or it's basically they're trying to and whatnot. They're trying to preserve their escapist fantasies, but the difference is, well, then again, Chris might have lost the perception of reality entirety, is because people have been enabling him to the point where now he actually believes that the dimensional merge is going to happen, or he's just trolling us. But Shani, she does the same thing too. I don't know whether or not Shani might have schizophrenia. I mean, she claims that she has borderline personality disorder, but maybe she's just using that as some sort of means of escapism, just to get away from the harsh reality she lives in. But I digress. Though not fully dotable on the 12/18th side of the dimensional curtain yet, I am able to drop a water to wine conversion and vice versa. Chris showing he is aware and he doesn't have superpowers in reality. I could say the same thing about Shani. I mean, it's obvious Shani doesn't have superpowers in reality too. I mean, we've seen the videos she makes. We know that she's faking it. Or we might believe that she's faking it. I mean, look what I was doing earlier before I started to go back to my usual routine, because I decided to wear vampire teeth and start talking in a fake European accent, but to no avail. It's just cringy. Anyway, let's continue on. Also, unlike a schizophrenic, Chris's fantasies do not involve paranoia or hallucinations and are entirely self-serving. That sounds like Vaughn. Well, Vaughn might be a schizophrenic, but Vaughn is technically a schizophrenic. He is extremely paranoid, and I want to believe that he might be hallucinating shit. Shani, on the other hand, it's obvious that she is. You know what? I think she also might be schizophrenic too. I mean, she has claimed that she has multiple personalities. Or she has borderline personality disorder. But she could be a schizophrenic as well, but that's not up for me to decide. While Chris has made statements implying he is hallucinating, such as when he insists he can see or interact with his imaginary friends, he often admits that he uses techniques such as meditation or projection, another indicator that his issue is maladaptive daydreaming. I had to commute to here. Dimension C-197 via astral projection. The tough part is having to leave my body behind in 1218. Oh, but very soon I shall finally be able to bring my body here to C-197. Chris giving a rare explanation on how he delves into his fantasy world. Chris's behavior and beliefs, however, align at least somewhat with schizotypal personality disorder. Let me look that up, because oh damn. Oh, schizotypal. It's supposed to say schizotypical personality disorder, but whoever wrote this needs to spell check. But I digress. Somewhat with schizotypal personality disorder, which is thought to exist on a spectrum of schizophrenia, with him matching at least 6 of the 9 diagnosis criteria in the DSM-5. Ideas of references, believing that certain general innocuous events hold special meaning or messages for oneself. Strange beliefs or magical thinking that influences behavior and is inconsistent with subcultural norms. Abnormal perpetual experiences, including bodily illusions, suspiciousness or paranoid ideation, strange behavior or appearance, excessive social anxiety that does not diminish with familiarity and tends to be associated with paranoid fears rather than negative judgments about self. Whilst Chris was largely comfortable around his paid-for companions during high school, his interaction with both the fair sex and the pickle bearers have been riddled with the paranoid fears and delusions. The last 3 symptoms, however, namely strange thinking and speech, sounds like Shani, lack of close friends, Shani and Rev, and Vaughn. Shani, inappropriate or constricted affect, Shani. We know Shani is inappropriate and constricted. Well, not too constricted because she's not that limber because she's big as a house. She's basically the size of Jupiter. Where was I? We know Shani has strange thinkings in speech. We know that. She has no friends because She doesn't want friends because she hates all humans. Whilst also present in Chris, can be almost exclusively attributed to his autism, much like his narcissism. Also, schizotypal individuals generally do not develop the grandiose delusions he has developed over the years and are generally reclusive. I guess I can consider Shani schizotypal or schizotypal. Schizotypal. I can't pronounce that word. It's odd, but yeah, I could say Shani is schizotypal. So further digging than internet armchair analysis is required, which Chris, of course, is thanks to his adamant refusal to seek out help voluntarily or benefit from professional help that is forced upon him, he will not likely ever receive. A lack of grounding into the real world. Yeah, it kind of sounds right. Chris's lack of purpose, combined with his enormous ego, further fuels his disconnection from reality. Sounds like Shani, too. Compelling him to instead seek out purpose with make-believe. Sound like Shani? As being the mayor of Quickville, no. And being the goddess of the CPU Blueheart. Well, the goddess part, but mayor? No. Since the government provides for him with a monthly tugboat, along with money from financial enablers, and his parents provide a roof over his head, Chris has had no reason to get a job. That sounds like Rev right there. Well, minus the monthly tugboat and financial enablers. And speaking of which, maybe the Watchmen should start paying like celebrities to give Chris shoutouts on cameos instead of, you know what I mean? Maybe the Watchmen should sum up some funds to get cameo shoutouts from celebrities. I would like to see that happen. Without the structure that a job, even a minimum wage or volunteer position, would impart to him, Chris is instead free to wallow in his fantasies. Chris's hobbies are mostly limited to Netflix, video games, YouTube, and Twitter. Despite supposedly having a calling for art, he rarely draws like he used to. While video games can stimulate the brain, his hobbies leave him little room for creativity or substantial self-improvement. I like to play video games. I like to watch YouTube, and yeah, but then again, it kind of messes your creativity up, but I make time. I work my damnedest to create or draw some kick-ass shit. Yes, in case you're wondering if anyone sees this or sees like a recording of this, I am an artist. And that little thing that I made for the Streamlab thing, I drew that and colored it in Photoshop. Even a simple hobby like photography would be a big step up from Chris's current avocations. You know, Chris used to take pictures on his DS, on his Nintendo DS. You know, but that's just it. The only reason why he used his DS to take a picture of Michael Starr was that he was going to use it as a dartboard. But I digress. Chris rarely leaves his room. Shani never leaves her room. Chris rarely leaves his room, instead preferring to daydream for 3 to 6 hours per day. Shani never leaves her room. Instead, she just does a live stream for 6 to 12 hours a day. When he does socialize, it is mainly on his terms, role-playing with enablers to keep him invested in his fantasies or appearing at conventions with fans who treated him as a celebrity. I wonder if Shani ever went to a convention before COVID. As for what I do while awake, on the recent, I get up, take my meds, meditate while playing Tetris 99 to at least take on the daily tasks for the game. Most days I go out on errand or simple walking. Anyway, during the time at home, I tend to binge a show, do some drawing or creative work, namely the TSS, the TSSF cards, and the comic pages. Chris describing his day-to-day life. We're going to be here for a while, so if anyone wants to get a snack, might want to do so at your own risk. Again, if anyone wants to come into the stream, link is in the description. I mean, the link is in the chat. Sorry. Escapist fantasies. Chris embraces his fantasies as escapism, overindulging in them to the point that his interest in them has largely eclipsed his real-world life. I could say Shani does the same thing, too, with her escapism. I mean, this is what I've been trying to say. Shani, these whole names she's picked out for herself, all this talk about Jesus coming back and all this talk about being a child of God, daughter of Jesus, queen of heaven, Archangel Sandalphon, and the heart of Jesus. You guys have to realize that all of this is just escapism for her. She's overindulging in her fantasies to the point that her internet persona, is more important than her real life. Her delusions are more important to her than her actual life. You know what I mean? That's what I've been trying to say. When his childlike lifestyle conflicts with the responsibilities associated with being an adult, Chris retreats to his fantasy realm to cope. Shani does the same thing too. When reality kicks in, she retreats to her fantasies as a coping mechanism. She retreats to making live streams where she says stupid shit as a way to cope with not being a decent mother or even a caring wife. This habit became especially prevalent in the years following the September 2011 death of his father, after which Chris found himself thrust into the world of adult responsibilities as he had to do tasks such as pay the bills and help take care of his mother and pets. Chris was 29 years old when his father passed away. While most people would be accustomed to dealing with responsibilities by that age, Chris was unprepared for the burden since his parents had sheltered him up to that point. For example, until he died, his father had managed Chris's bank account due to his fiscal responsibility. I could say the same thing about Rev's parents. I mean, until his mother passed away, I guess until she passed away, Rev's mother probably managed his bank accounts due to his fiscal irresponsibilities too. When my father was alive, I had more freedom. Now that he has passed, I lost a lot of freedom and remained to take after the tasks he had left behind. You can only escape in your mental depths and recluse for so long before you are pulled back to reality, and too many things leave you feeling like you get little peace at home. Chris occasionally whined on social media about his position in having to help take care of his mother and pets, his statements gradually revealing more of his retreat into escapist fantasies. Shani whines on social media all the time about her position of being a horrible person. She always whines about how people are mistreating her. And these statements are revealing more that she would rather retreat into her escapist fantasies than actually take responsibility. In September 2012, he complained, "Everybody gets to go out and have a fun and good time. I am stuck caregiving my mother and our dogs. It is very stressful on me." In January 2013, Chris was hoping for a sweetheart to rescue him from his life. "I need my sweetheart to make me happy. My heart hurts literally from my depression and loneliness. Serving my mother is not a final purpose to me, and my social life is very slim. I feel like I lack direction in my life as well." Yeah, it sounds like Shan too. By October 2017, Chris was immersed in his escapism. From his list of reasons for refusing to get a job, half involved his devotion to his fantasies. I have a ton and shitload of responsibilities and worries here at home. Caretaking my mother, dogs, cats, and to my own passion of my electric hedgehog Pokemon family, my city of Quickville, my own me psychic connection to my family and friends there in that dimension. So I'll be damned if I do not already have enough on my plate. Chris's desire to be rescued from reality left him desperate for his fantasies to be validated. His mentally similar to people willing to join cults. On October 25th, 2017, the first of the idea guys entered the picture. Yo, idea guys, maybe you should talk to Shani. Maybe you should give Shani a run for her money. Because you need to get Shani to be... Shani, I think you need to be in the good graces of the idea guys because they know what to say. So that you don't have to. Both of the idea guys. I feel need to also thank them for adding more connection between our sister dimension and I. Chris on the idea guys retaining his cultist mentality several months after they had been ousted. On October 25th, 2017, Joshua Wise, the first of a duo that would later be dubbed the Idea Guys, contacted Chris. Initially as an experiment to gauge Chris's gullibility, Wise began a plot to manipulate Chris into believing that Wise had made it into Quickville's dimension, drawing from his experience in role-playing communities and borrowing lore from video games/anime series. Hyperdimension Neptunia. Rev, maybe you should get Shannon to play this game. Hyperdimension Neptunia. Wise crafted an elaborate narrative which included edited image graphics, doctored up audio clips such as Red Forest, and role playing as Chris's imaginary friends. Chris, by this point in his life, desperate for his fantasies to be validated, eagerly accepted Wise's claims. You know, Shani is desperate for her fantasies to be validated. The association between Wise and Chris morphed into a cult leader and devout follower. Wise brainwashed Chris's beliefs on Quickville and his imaginary friends, such as by claiming Quickville to be occupied by Nazis, that Rose Chu is a transgender woman, and that Chris is married to imaginary friends, with Chris accepting this as fact. At some point, the second idea guy, Stephen Boyd, joined with Wise. Together, the two exploited their influence over Chris and had him make false statements for blackmail purposes and con Chris into giving them thousands of dollars under threats that they would destroy Quickville and release the blackmail material if he failed to comply. Wow, these guys are assholes. Their activities caught the attention of people in Chris's inner circle, who formed a group later termed the Guard Dogs to counteract the idea guys and remove them from power. However, even after the ousting, and though the Guard Dogs tried to encourage Chris to seek therapy at Region 10, Chris still retained most of the beliefs the idea guys had brainwashed into him over the 6 months they were in power. Guard Dogs explained Chris's perspective. Reality is a malleable concept to Chris. To Chris, that these losers were pretending to be imaginary characters doesn't mean that they didn't unwittingly connect with their counterparts in the other dimension or whatever. So yeah, he thinks Wise and Boyd were assholes who stumbled upon some magic or some shit. Chris is mostly mad about money first and being made to embarrass himself second. In regards to why he still maintains a lot of their canon, it's because Chris is too invested in his imaginary world to give up on it so easily. I think after Wise and Boyd were outed, he felt really uncomfortable about retconning most of their changes. Because if he retcons the past 6 months, then fuck, why can't he retcon all of it? This would make him feel really uneasy and would possibly about the possibility of his imaginary world. That is reality in its utmost. That reality is most important to him. That reality is most important to him. I guess, yeah, Shani's reality is more important to her than reality itself. Shani's fantasies are more important to her than her kids. Her delusions are more important to her. Post Idea Guys era ignited a wave of enablers who sought to use the Idea Guys tactics to worm their way into Chris's life. For a few months, the Guard Dogs attempted to protect Chris by screening his messages for him. However, given Chris's refusal to address his psychological weaknesses and willingness to find others to play make-believe with, the enablers eventually broke past their defenses, leading to the Guard Dogs washing their hands of Chris. The Teen Troon Squad in fall 2018, MKR Night V in winter 2019, Jacob Sockness in summer 2019, and a myriad of other enablers took turns role-playing with Chris and enabling his fantasies in exchange for his attention. In addition, using lore brute forced into his head by the Idea Guys, Chris declared himself to be a goddess, CPU Blueheart, and began to preach about the dimensional merge, further intensifying the cult vibes of his beliefs. Shanny's basically doing something that almost mirrors Chris's delusions, with the enablers feeding into her delusions and G-Man going crazy Von Helt by including herself with Von Helton, G-Man, and other crazies. I guess you could say Shanny is declaring herself to be a goddess. And she is starting to preach about the second coming, further intensifying the cult vibes of her beliefs as well. Consequences. Beyond making a fool of himself, Chris's poor grasp of reality has compelled him to self-harm and fall for con men exploiting his beliefs. We know Shanny likes to self-harm. Self-harm. Late onset gender dysphoria is a psychological disorder describing those who identify with another gender over their own and can present with the desire to be rid of their primary sex characteristics and prefer those of the other gender. Like with everything else in life, Chris sought out mysticism to treat his gender dysphoria. I think Shanny is forcing Rev to experience gender dysphoria at this point. I mean, with Rev's naivety and his slow brain function and his low brain function, who's there to say that Shanny's gonna resort to mysticism to treat Rev's gender dysphoria? In March of 2016, he discovered subliminal frequency hypnosis, a collection of music tracks on YouTube claiming to, among other things, magically grant larger breasts and transform a penis into a vagina. Chris's confirmation bias over his breasts increasing, crediting it to the mysticism instead of his gynecomastia and poor measuring of his chest. His gynecomastia. What is gynecomastia? Sorry, I just got to look up gynecomastia. Oh, man boobs. Oh, so it's man boobs. Oh, so it's man boobs. And poor measuring of his chest. Oh yeah. Remember when Chris used to wear like a plush breasts? Led to him to believe that the claims made by the channel were true. Okay. So it means that Chris has man boobs, by the way. Gynecomastia is the scientific term for man boobs. Bitch tits. I think Von Helton might have gynecomastia. No. Von Helton does have gynecomastia. And I think he needs to start wearing bras now. He pursued the penis-vagina transformation and began to prod his taint while under the impression that there was a hidden vagina there. Though the subliminal channel claimed the transformation would take 6 months, Chris eventually lost patience. In July 2016, he grabbed a knife and made a self-inflicted taint wound to an effort to free his vagina. Chris's devotion to the delusion was so potent that he initially resisted efforts by concerned parents to pressure him into going to the hospital, though he eventually wore down and admitted it was a wound and obeyed treatment instructions. Shanny's going to force Rev to... Well, actually, Shanny's going to force Rev to cut a taint into his baby carrot. Watch. She's gonna grab a knife and Shandy's gonna force Rev to self-inflict to a self-inflicted to make a self-inflicted taint wound to replace his baby carrot because she is gonna because she's now lesbian and she wants to turn Rev into a woman. Con artists. Chris has been taken advantage of by the trolls. The tactics and goals from the likes of the Idea Guys and Jacob Sockness surpass the typical catfishing for content. The Idea Guys gradually built up a strong psychological hold over Chris by affirming his fantasies and playing along with them, to the point where Chris and had full faith over anything they told him. Excuse me. They then used their influence to con Chris out of $6,000 by threatening to blow up Quickville with a moon laser if he failed to comply. That sounds like, oh my God, don't tell me these guys ripped off Moonraker. Or, don't tell me, Moonraker or Austin Powers, The Spy Who Shagged Me. Which is basically a ripoff of Moonraker. Actually, it's a parody of Moonraker. But I digress. Again, let me read that again. They then used their influence to con Chris out of $6,000 by threatening to blow up Quickville with a moon laser if he failed to comply, manipulate him into punching his mother, and had him make videos slapping himself in the face and shitting on the floor. What the fuck? Oh my God. Things became even darker when the Idea Guys threatened to falsely report Chris as a pedophile to the FBI if he stopped supplying them with the vast sums of money, consoles, and games, thus deepening the financial crisis. Jesus Christ, these guys were mean. These guys are awful. I take back my, you know what? No, I'm not taking that back. Idea Guys, Josh, show wise. I mean, Idea Guys, go fuck with Shanny and Rev. Maybe you'll get them to comply to the delusions that they are. Well, actually, no. Go fuck with Shanny and Rev to say that to get Rev out of that house. Because, yeah, get Rev to get out of that house. Jacob Sockness, following the example set by the Idea Guys, nearly succeeded in manipulating Chris into a sexual relationship, holding the dimensional merge over his head and faking a conversation with Chris's imaginary friends to convince him that they should meet and consider marriage. Though both the Idea Guys and Sockness were eventually ousted by people countering their role-playing with their own, Chris had failed to learn and continues to leave the gates to his imaginary realms open to anyone who will validate his fantasies further. You know, scratch that. Shanny, Rev, I think you should follow. I think you should talk to Chris Chan. That way, it would make his validations more concerned. No, Chris, I think you should talk with Shanny or Rev. I mean, it's obvious. Sonichu, maybe you should get Mama Chris to relay a message to two archangels in 1218 to join the battle against the evil forces in Quickville. You know what I mean. Fantasy and fiction. You think that comic book characters wouldn't have its own? You think comic book characters wouldn't have its own thoughts and feelings? Chris' question to Alec Benson Leary. No, Alex's response. You are naive. Chris's response to Alex. By the time the internet first discovered him circa 2007, Chris already held beliefs that Quickville and his imaginary friends were real, and that he had the power to curse people. Since then, as a maladaptive coping mechanism for his real world life crumbling around him, Chris gradually took on larger scale fantasies, such as parallel dimensions. Yo, Shani, Rev, maybe you should start investing in parallel dimensions. Quickville. Quickville is Chris's original vision of an imaginary and idealistic fantasy world where everything is built around his comfort and convenience, and where he enjoys great power with scant responsibility. Chris believes that Quickville is real and uses the city as a way to escape from a world that does not give Chris what he wants. Quickville was originally an infill city within the state of Virginia, but it became part of the larger C-197 dimension when Chris started toying with the dimensional merge. All of Chris's characters are aware that Chris is the creator of their reality. Sonichu and Rosechu both refer to him as father, in much as the same way a Christian might consider God to be his or her creator. It is unknown if the comic exists in the universe of Quickville. Chris believes his characters possess free will to make their own decisions, and that he is not responsible for the actions. This is how various events, both major and minor, such as Sonichu and Rosechu's wedding, the birth of their children, Kel's romance with Nate Cirque, and even Bubbles and Blake's wedding, are said to actually happen off screen instead of just being a spur of the moment throwaway plot elements that Chris is too lazy to depict. Without prior explanation, Chris made a spoiler in his own comic that Magichan will eventually get together with Sylvana, implying that in Chris's head, this has already happened. It is Slawil Ryam, not Chris, who apologizes for slandering Mary Lou Walsh. Chris once justified his refusal to write Simona out of the comic by saying that she would not want to leave Quickville and that she and Wilde would fight for her to stay. Chris considers everything drawn, written, or even said about Quickville to be canonical if he's the one stating it, regardless of contradictions, and feels it necessary to explain away undesirable changes to Quickville made as a result of outside influences, e.g. Billy Mace's mayor. The fact that he needs to explain this in his comic shows that he assumes everyone else shares this belief as well. Sounds like G-Man. The fact that... Never mind. Despite considering his own judgment infallible as applied to his work, he forces others to accept the corrections he has made to theirs. When the Asperpeter 4 used systematic trolling to make Chris kill off the character Simonla, Chris viewed this as a deliberate attack on his fantasy world, Quickville, which had always been Chris's way to retreat from the real world, had been infiltrated by outside forces and was no longer impenetrable. So this is likely why Chris put the comic on hiatus, to stop outside forces from causing any more damage. Chris's beliefs are such that he even claims to hold the distinction of mayor of Quickville in real life. He only admits that Quickville is not real when he intends to pacify others he sees as slow in the mind to comprehend this idea. He most likely defends this belief because he has accomplished and produced virtually nothing worthwhile in his life, and he likes to pretend that he has made a positive impact on something, if only on a metaphysical level. In his opinion, anyone who does not accept this worldview is naive. On July 23rd, 2017, Chris responded to his true and loyal fan base, who wondered why Chris wouldn't reboot his comics. As a response, Chris explained that if he were to reboot the comics, that would mean that history in the canon would have to start all over again, and all of the characters would have to start over from their original forms. Essentially, he thinks that if he pulls the plug on his Sonichu franchise and reboots it, that would mean that all of his characters would die and they would somehow reincarnate into newer, upgraded versions. I believe in the alternate dimensions where each set of their own animated characters reside and live their lives and continuing growing long after the series is finished, or say kids, whatever. Chris to Doopy, do over. Dimensions. The moment I brought up the multiverse, he listened. The moment I brought up the multiverse, he listened. The original idea guy on how he got Chris's attention. Chris's belief in alternate dimensions enables him to disconnect from the poor and mundane life he currently resides in and to shift responsibility over personality flaws to an alternative Chris. Shani, Rev, I think it's time you start believing in alternate dimensions. That way, whenever people talk about you, you can just say that it was an alternate version of you. If it gives him solace to believe that he or other versions of himself exist in other places where he is content, successful, and surrounded by characters and people who love him. The idea guys exploited Chris's nascent beliefs and desires on other dimensions and further shaped them as part of their cult-like grip over his beliefs. The dimensional merge is Chris's ultimate escapist fantasy, enabling him to think he is powerful, wealthy, with real friends and a happy marriage, all just waiting for him on the other side of the dimensional curtain. A concept originally created by the idea guys and later expanded on by Chris with the help of fantasy enablers. The merge is his hope that his sister dimensions, 1218 and C-197 will unify with him overseeing the merge in his role as the goddess CPU Blueheart. The dimension 1218, sometimes referred to as Earth 1218, is the dimension of reality. The dimension C-197 is the designation of Chris's imaginary world, which contains all of his favorite fictional characters and OCs. The merge was originally scheduled to complete by the end of 2018, leaving behind a universe known as 1C211987 with elements of both sister dimensions, and enable Chris to realize his dream of hanging out with Sonichu and his pals. Damn. Imaginary friends. I don't have to justify Sonichu and Rosechu. They can take of that themselves. Chris being completely delusional in IRC January 20, 2006. January 20th, 2009. And one day, very soon, my family and I will be able to show ourselves to you all. Then you will be taking back your own schizo labels. However, 9 years later. A mix of maladaptive coping and maladaptive daydream, Chris's beliefs in imaginary friends is a primary means of escapism for him. He believes that he can communicate with them via meditation sessions. in reality conflating his inner monologue with the imagined voices of his fictional friends. There are many instances of Chris trying to interact with his imaginary friends over the years, becoming more prevalent over time as his desires for escapism grows. Examples include his confrontation with Mary Lee Walsh in 2009, his imaginary dance partner at the 2017 BronyCon Gala, and social media messages near the end of the 2010s written either from a point of view of any of his OCs or in which he claims to be with any of them. In fall of 2017, the Idea Guys roleplayed as Chris's own imaginary friends, giving Chris validation over his pre-existing notions and further fueling his maladaptive behavior. I think, such as convincing Chris that his imaginary friends will be united with him in the dimensional merge and that he is married to several of them in a polyamorous marriage. I think I could say that Shani for Christ might have some maladaptive personality traits, like with her constant need for attention and constant clout chasing. Shani does display traits of someone with maladaptive tendencies. Am I in the ballpark or not? Magical thinking. Quite frankly, I believe you are wasting your time where you are wasting your time there. There are more productive things in life than levitating a pen. Put your energy into those. Magician Uri Geller's advice for Chris, who asked Chris for help training his psychic powers. I'm not wasting my time, Chris's reply. Chris's habits of magical thinking is another maladaptive coping method, manifesting in delusions of grandeur instead of putting in effort to improve his life. Chris prefers to believe that magic will do it for him. In addition, he believes that magic will allow him to neutralize his perceived enemies. That sounds like Vaughn right there. No, this is definitely Von Helton right here. The magical thinking. I intend to do a lot more good with my psychic powers to bring peace and take down up to all the internet haters and bullies. I do all these in my own control, Chris. Chris believes that he has an array of magical powers, most notable the ability to curse his enemies, as well as to undo it. Others include communicating with the dead, brainwashing, and psychic powers. Great part. Superstitions. While most of Chris's superstitions are his own, he also takes part in popular superstitions as well. Autistic people in general tend to be predisposed to wishful thinking and magical thinking, finding superstitions to be comforting. Chris dislikes the number 13 because he thinks it is an unlucky number. Triskaidekaphobia. I can't pronounce that word, so I'm not going to try. It's the fear of number 13. The fear of number 13. It's already a common American superstition, with Microsoft Office notably skipping version 13 during the development of Office 2010. However, Chris's fear of the number 13 had an unusual effect on the numbering of Sonichu comics, where Sonichu issue 13 was numbered Sonichu 12-9, showing his incompetency with either logic or math. Sounds like G-Man. And where episode 1 Lucky Dog from Sonichu 6 was labeled episode 12-5. On Twitter, when going into multi-tweet rants, Chris numbers the tweets. For Twitter messages which exceed 12 tweets, Chris either replaces the number with a repeated 12 or 12-9. Chris has also shown belief in astrology. He included his and Sarah Hammer's zodiac signs in the life shares. In his OkCupid profile, he wrote that his sign is Pisces, and it's fun to think about. He wrote to Jessica Quinn, I am emotion prone, and I tend to do as I feel, and life flows, like the Pisces I was born under. One of the quotes on his Facebook post was, I was born under the sign of Pisces, the sign of the provider. I am fully capable of providing the necessities and then some for the lucky woman who loves me for me and becomes my true sweetheart. His belief in star signs explains why he holds such a high significance to his birthday. Chris places significance on his birthstone, which he calls Amnifest. He believes his class ring with the stone is what gives him power, and he pointed it out to Emily on their date. More recently, he attached an amethyst quartz crystal to his medallion. I'm just looking at some good shit. I'm just looking ahead. Science and technology. I do not even know of the symptoms because, again, if I literally overthought about it, I would be at greater risk of infecting myself from reading and repeating the list in my mind. It's neurotypical and idiotic for anyone to do that and overthink it. Chris rationalizes staying ignorant of the virus disease, COVID-19. Chris rationalizing staying ignorant of the viral disease COVID-19. Yeah, that kind of sounds like Donald Trump right there. And that was until his COVID-19 diagnosis. Yeah, because I think Trump also rationalized staying ignorant of COVID-19, which resulted in his diagnosis, which resulted in him being tested positive as of recently. Chris seemed completely unaware of what current technology is and is not capable of. That sounds like G-Man. In his Sonichu article on the Wikipedia, he suggests that Nintendo poured their resources into developing a Pokeball peripheral that would have slots for every generation of Pokemon games, including a slot for the GameCube memory card. He expects users of this peripheral to be able to read party data from the inserted game memory card, display a holographic image of the Pokemon in play, and challenge people in real life who own the same peripheral in the manner much like Yu-Gi-Oh! In addition, Chris has no idea how everyday machines such as cars work, evidenced in how he claimed that a 97 Cadillac with a cracked engine block was a great fixer-upper. Sounds like a G-Man. Normally, any serious physical damage to a car's engine can only be repaired by a very skilled mechanic, or cannot be repaired at all, and one must buy a new engine, and both of which are not cheap. But that's an entire different problem. Chris has also been shown to lack knowledge in basic pathology. When he contracted a cold in December 2019, he had attributed it to the large-scale triggering he got from a number of people on his Twitter. Social rules. Chris has also obsesses over popular rules about relationships. He is held onto the idea that sex should be given on the third date, as well as other overly generic dating advice. Conspiracy theories. I bet even Green County had something to do with influencing that goddamn Michael Snyder to make him pretend to have a reason to kick me out. Chris blaming his school board for a decision made by a game store manager. Chris and his parents have come up with several conspiracies to explain away his life problems. Notable examples are of Chris blaming his elementary school for keeping him in his autistic shell, his parents' notion that Michael Snyder and Megan Schroeder were masterminds behind the trolls, and Chris's belief that Snyder caused his own injury when Chris and his mother hit him with their car. Estimation. A car weighs a lot more than 10 tons. Chris being unaware that most cars weigh 2 or 3 tons. Like Shanny. Kind of like Shanny. So Shanny weighs more than a car. Shanny's arms weigh more than a car. Chris has a tendency to hugely exaggerate estimates of length, weight, and strength in his favor, as evidence in his description of a 12-pack of canned lemonade as being 50 pounds. This behavior is symptomatic of dyscalculia. Sorry. This behavior is systematic of dyscalculia, a common symptom of autism, which leaves the sufferer with poor comprehension of time, measurement, or spatial reasoning. However, Chris does not really display any other symptoms of it, suggesting this behavior isn't mere ignorance, but rather Chris telling childish lies to impress people with his physical strength. Sounds like Rev and G-Man. We all know that Rev and G-Man like to spew childish lies just as an attempt to impress people who don't know the full story. Lack of theory of mind. Chris has no idea on how the billions of people on the planet think. That sounds like G-Man. And possibly Shanny. G-Man has no idea how billions of people think. He assumes that anyone who doesn't follow his Christian beliefs are atheists and deserve to burn in the lake of fire. But Chris has no idea on how the billions of people on the planet think. He thinks that all men would happily wear bras and skirts. It must be noted, Chris thought these ideas so that he and he alone would feel more comfortable cross-dressing, and that every Sonic fan on the planet would support him in his Sonic Boom protests. When somebody informs him that they have a different opinion to him, he throws a tantrum and denounces that person as a troll. Sounds like Shanny, Reb, G-Man, and Vaughn. See, that's basically everyone the Geek Room has covered. Anyone who, when somebody informs G-Man that they have a different opinion than his, he throws a temper tantrum and denounces that person as an atheist. Whenever someone tells Rev that Shanny is not someone he should spend the rest of his life with, the remaining days of his life with, he denounces that person as a troll. Same thing with Vaughn. Anyone who tells Vaughn that he's not going to get his kids back, he denounces them as a troll. See, and Chris has done this before these people, before I even learned about these people. Narcissistic tendencies. Chris automatically assumes his lies will be believed. That sounds like Shani. I mean, Shani automatically assumes her lies would be believed, even if they contradict existing information. This is copiously evidenced in his constant lies during the father call, wherein Chris fibs insensibly about his health, among other things, frequently denying things or changing his story whenever he gets caught out. Sounds like Shani? His habit of lying and lying about his lies is likely inherited from his mother, whom his brother described as a pathological liar. When asked by Evan to remove Simona from his comics, Chris decided that he could have created her without the inspiration of Evan's character Simon Chu. Sorry, it's Simone Chu. Thus, effectively had. The fact that he demonstrably could not have done this did not factor into his reasoning. Chris corrected Simona's Wikipedia entry with a retraction, denying that Simona had ever been inspired by Simone Chu. Chris expected that this revised version of the truth would be happily accepted by all concerned parties. Chris considers people with Asperger's syndrome to be fakers who are taking the shine and limelight away from genuine autistic people such as himself. Although Chris has admitted that this fact was his own idea, he still believes that to think otherwise is to conform to blasphemy. As with many other things which antagonizes him, Chris simply assumes Asperger's would be significant of a conspiracy targeting himself. So basically, Chris was the original targeted citizen before targeted citizen was even relevant. Unsurprisingly, Chris can come across as highly delusional when he expects to be taken seriously. Shani comes across as Shani comes across as highly delusional when she expects people to take her seriously. For example, on April 28th, 2012, he made an empty threat to the Kiwi Farms about hunting down each of its members. He claimed to know where each of them lives in an attempt to intimidate the trolls, even if one were to gloss over the fact that he wouldn't even cough up $800 to travel to Redmond to see his dreams come true. And it should be noted that there are trolls all over America and indeed the world. There's a high chance that there will be one outcome of Chris actively pursuing his trolls with the purpose of doing them harm. All things considered, Chris ended up making himself even more of a laughingstock in the process. That just does it with the Quickie article. I mean, I got some comments, but that's just about it. Anyway, this is going to go up, and maybe by then, I'm pretty sure some people will look at it. Again, to the one person who came in, thank you for sticking with me. I do quickie readings just to pass the time between covering Shani and Rev and G-Man and all the other idiots that the Geek Room has covered. And be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. And turn on the bell notifications if you want to see me do more quickie readings in the future. You can also follow my the links below if you want to support me and if you want to donate to me, you can follow the links below. And be sure to check out. Be sure to check out next week when I cover Shani's arrest video in the next installment of the Baja Blast beat. Sorry, let me say that again. Be sure to get ready. Sorry. Next week I'll be doing next week I'll be doing the 5th installment of the Hambeast Chronicles. And I'll do a live reaction to Shanny's arrest video. And that's something you should look forward to. So, and I'll be doing more if you want me to do more Shanny content, please let me know in the comments. And I'll get onto that shit. But until then, I'll see you guys later. So, peace, pizza, and marinara sauce.